I read chapter 10, so you don't have to. The setting of the thing is Londinium, bruv. The Arknights city based on Paris. The city has been in a bit of a pickle recently. This geezer right here completely took it over. Pheresis, the regent of Castel. Not the king, the regent. If some of you played Dark Knight's Memoir back in the day or paid any attention during all the past things, you know who he is. He is the brother of Pheresa, the king of fiends. Yes, it's king, not queen, and he at some point overthrew her and took over the leadership of the Sarkas. A bloody civil war between the two ensued, at the end of which Pheresa was killed and a certain Yu was thrown into the sarcophagus. After winning the civil war, Pheresis took his army and led it to Londinium. To very strongly oversimplify what happened, Victoria has been in a bit of political turmoil for over 2 decades at this point. One duke in Londinium had the brilliant idea to invite Pheresis and his Sarkas army to make sure order in the city is kept up, and well, Pheresis used this to take over the entire city. He killed off a bunch of nobles and soldiers, gave the remaining ones Sarkas officers, he started summoning Sarkas mercenaries from all over the world into the city, added them to his army, and changed the city's industrial output to equip them with equipment, including but not limited to weapons, armor, and fucking airships. That's right, man's building an air force. But why the hell did the regent of the Sarkas, after winning the civil war here, decide to collect all his forces and go take over the capital of this country over here? You see, Pheresis' stated end goal is to end the oppression of the Sarkas. The Sarkas have been consistently taking L's all throughout history. Everybody kinda hates them, the big nations fight against them, their home country Castel has been destroyed multiple times, and every time they try to unite and rebuild their war-torn country, they just get destroyed again. And because of that, Pheresis thought to himself that the best way of uniting the Sarkas and ending their oppression would be to start a war against Victoria, Ursus and Lytanian. I am not fucking joking. Think about it though, other nations can't destroy you if you destroy them first. By the way, in this shot you see a person who I stated to be dead just like a minute ago. After Pheresa was killed during the civil war, Pheresis somehow got a hold of her body, and now she is in fact alive once more and seemingly on his side? How did he manage to bring her back alive though? Wouldn't you like to know? He does not only have his sister on his side, he also has the support of the Sarkas royal court. I'm just gonna put a bunch of info on screen if you want to read up on them, but we will also discuss all of them in further videos in the future. But soon things will get difficult for the second hottest man in Terra, because the world's most pharmaceutical company is slowly moving through the country, approaching the capital. While Calcid is making sure that the landship is not moving mad, 3 teams are about to infiltrate Londinium. One led by elite operator Misery, one led by elite operator Logos, and one led by Armia herself. Armia's group consists of her and a further 16 people, including you, Closure, in a cute new outfit, at least one medic, this random bozo, and Siege and her crew of Victorian roadmen, ready to pull up on the Mandem in their way to shank them correct. What is Rhodes Island's goal in this operation? To end the fighting between the Sarkas and the Victorians and prevent a further escalation of this war from happening. Speaking of pulling up though, on their way to the city they run into Dublin. Yes, those weird Taran rebels from Chapter 9 have joined forces with Pheresis and help the Sarkas to keep up their control over Londinium. It's not a proper alliance though, they don't trust each other at all, it's more of a temporary partnership or some, yeah. But why though? Well, their stated goal is to create an independent nation for the people calling themselves Taran, and their leader, who totally doesn't look like Reed's big sister, must have felt like working with the Sarkas could help them with that goal. Anyway, while Misery, Logos and their respective squads infiltrated Londinium, the squad with you and Amia had to take care of two other things first. Rescuing the pilot of a Black Steel International aircraft which was shot down in the area, and rescuing an informant who is supposed to lead them into the city. While the pilot sadly was killed, they were capable of rescuing the informant from the Dublin forces holding him. His name is Mr. Thomas, and he's the owner of a toxic coal factory in Londinium, which is under the control of the Sarkas. Together with the rescued informant, you guys managed to get into Londinium's Sudayan district, which is the gigantic industrial district surrounding the rest of the city. Yes, Londinium is a ReZero reference. You enter the city and one of the first things you see is a group of Sarkas soldiers. The informant pushes out and runs away, right into a group of Dublin soldiers led by Catman Dingo herself. The Sarkas approach them, demanding that they hand him over to them. That demand leads to an argument, and that argument would soon turn into a fight after a Dublin soldier drops dead, killed by a crossbow bolt. Thinking that the Sarkas opened fire on them, they start a proper fight with the other side, not knowing that in reality the dead soldier is the result of a couple of horny rebels. Horn at one point was captured by Dublin and held imprisoned by Mandragora herself, but given how awesome Horn is and how goofy Mandragora is, she decided to escape. She hid in Londinium's sewers, talking to nobody but metal crabs for the longest time. Now she spends all of her energy on finding imprisoned Victorian soldiers, freeing them and organizing them into a rebel army with makeshift crossbows, ragtag uniforms, all of that being a pain in the bunda for the occupiers. She is fucking based, bro. As the argument was happening, one of her men just shot a Dublin soldier and made them fight. Big dub. During this situation, Rhodes Island uses its operators to save as many civilians from the area as possible, while still trying to stay more or less hidden, although they at some point get seen by Mandragora and just have to fight. Suddenly, a massive artillery shell impacts the area. Your crew only barely managed to escape its impact because you quickly ordered a retreat, sensing that something was wrong. This right here is Manfred, the hottest man on Terra, and the Sarkas general appointed by Pheresis to control the forces within Londinium. He gave the order to use the city's defensive artillery to open fire into the city itself. This is what just happened. By the way, there is a really interesting guy right next to him, Höderer, a Sarkas mercenary. More and more and more shells are fired, basically completely destroying the area and giving Mandragora's forces heavy losses. The informant you guys rescued also gets killed. As you are trying to keep yourselves safe, this driller right here suddenly approaches you from behind. Everybody gets ready to unalive him, but he promises you that he's an ally. And well, he is an ally. The mysterious guy leads all of you underground into the gigantic pipe system connecting all of Londinium. At some point you reach this, the headquarters of the Londinium Citizens Self-Salvation Corps. What a fucking horrible name. Because of how long the name is, I'm gonna refer to them as the Wagwans for the rest of the video. They don't really trust Rhodes Island all that much, but their leader, Clovisia, understands that they can't just send away potential allies in the positions they are in. They establish a cooperation and will soon go on their first joint operation. While that happens, the Rhodes Island landship, still 500 kilometers away from Londinium, gets an unexpected visitor. The Nachzehrer King, a centuries-old Sarkas. He is supposed to keep an eye on Calcit. They say a lot of mad things to each other, but I won't lie, yeah, the things they actually say are not that important to the actual events of Chapter 10, so we will discuss them at a later point individually. I hope you understand. Thank you very much. Meanwhile, the Sanguinarch, leader of the vampires, gets sent out as well. He is supposed to find you and Armia and bring them to Pheresis. This, together with Manfred's efforts, should be enough to deal with Rhodes Island, so Pheresis. The Sarkas leadership is also having an interesting visitor right as that takes place. Ascalon, a very important person, pays a visit to the Confessarius. She has successfully infiltrated Londinium weeks ago independently from Armia and everyone else. Another interesting development, Mandragora, that walking slapstick comedy movie, apologizes to Manfred. She wants to make sure that the alliance between the two still stands, although they just killed each other not that long ago. And well, apparently it still does. Another person gets to Manfred soon after. A person in the disguise of the informant who Rhodes Island rescued and who assumingly died in the artillery barrage. Manfred thanks them for luring Dublin into a vulnerable position earlier today. He wants them to continue to help him. Rhodes Island and the Wagwans move out together. Their target is a temporary prison which is being guarded by Mandragora and her Dublin men and Hildera and his Sarkas mercenaries. Interestingly enough, it is located in the Loxic coal factory once owned by the guy who once was supposed to be your informant. The goal of this mission is to rescue Heidi Thompson, an important person to both Rhodes Island and the Wagwans. Heidi is not a damsel in distress though. She is imprisoned there with a bunch of Victorians. She does her best to get information out of the Sarkas guarding them, aggravates them every now and then, and does not let them intimidate her. At some point, just after your operation starts, Heidi hears fighting outside. She reacts by making her normies overwhelm a couple of Sarkas, take their weapons, and start to overtake the factory. Just moments after you lot make it in, her and her lot already make it to you. You are not the only ones with their eyes set on who's imprisoned here. Horn and her crew also are here, set on rescuing the Victorian soldiers there. As they are approaching the factory, they run into the Briefing Try Not to Cringe compilation and her men. Those two guys still have business with each other to settle after what happened in Chapter 9, but this situation only ends up being a Victorian standoff. After they stare each other down for quite a while, Mandragora gets approached by one of her men who reports that the Sarkas are evacuating the factory. Saying that that's an opportunity she can't miss, she leaves Horn alone and enters the place. Inside, your crew gets a report by Closure, who is watching over the entire operation with her drones, which she also uses to communicate with you. Closure says that she sees Sarkas mercenaries fight the Sarkas soldiers inside of the factory. Your group hears an explosion and a familiar face enters. W. W has been on a special mission sent by Calcit herself. Weeks ago, she infiltrated Londinium on her own, recruited a bunch of mercenaries into a small army, and then attacked this place in order to rescue the objective of her mission, Heidi. Sadly, all of her men died in this battle. Heidi and the civilians start evacuating, and W blows up a bunch of walls and corridors to make sure that they won't be pursued. There's one problem with that though. Just moments before she blew one of them up, Feist and his group left through it in order to find somebody they want to rescue. Well, cock. But don't worry, it gets even worse. The cut-off group runs into fucking Hildera. This man, you men. He cuts grenades in half mid-air. Feist's group sacrifices two of their men, but they manage to rescue their target, a lad called Bill. Thanks to information given to them by Closure's drones, they manage to get back to the rest. They know though that their pursuer will soon arrive. Everybody gets ready to fight, but W tells them to leave, saying that she volunteers to cover the retreat of everyone. She also looks damn fine while saying that. Hydra makes it through every single trap and explosive W laid in the building. For the record, the last person capable of doing that was Tallulah. The two fight, and W does her best to stall, yet it seems like she is holding back. After all, Hydra and her used to be very close comrades. The situation turns rather dire, W gets wounded, but then the situation shifts. An assassin appears, one capable of beheading both of them within seconds. Ascalon saves W and the two leave. Horn in the meantime managed to get a bunch of Victorian soldiers out, but ayo, we can't have nice things. She runs into the fucking general. Like the absolute Chad she is, she fights him head on. She is brave, but not nearly strong enough. As things are about to turn bad for her and her crew, elite operator Misery appears and saves them with his special arts. Manfred knows better than to pursue a Sarkas this powerful. Instead, he looks for Mandragora. Mandragora used this whole situation to save a Dublin spy from the prison. Once Manfred and his threat men get to her, it turns really bloody. He completely slaughters her men, the spy, and herself as well. He doesn't directly kill her, but leaves her on the ground to die. The last thing we see of this failure of a Catgirl being is a Rhodes Island elite operator appearing right next to her. Did she actually die? I don't care. Your group has completely made it out of the place and you get ready to enter one of the underground facilities you used to get here in order to escape. Once you get close, Siege, who stayed back to guard the entrance, approaches you, saying that the passage is not safe. It has been attacked by a Sarkas with disgusting Originium arts, the Sanguinarch, leader of the vampires, and the men guarding it have been killed. All of them. You have to take a detour and enter the underground through a different entrance. You manage to escape and get to Wagwan base. Time to take a breather. While getting ready for further operations, you and Armia make a shocking discovery. That Bill guy Feist and his men rescued, he isn't actually Bill. He is somebody in disguise. But they tell you that you have made this discovery way too late. The city's defensive artillery shells the area above the base at maximum power output. Soon, the old city plates covering this place will collapse. Everybody has to evacuate. Clovisia comes up with a plan. She wants to bring everybody overground and use the city's train system to evacuate into Londinium's centrum and meet up with the Wagwan supporters there. But how are they gonna board the train under heavy fire? Armia has an idea. Rhodes Island will perform a raid on the city walls and deactivate the artillery. Pheresis approaches Manfred, but he knows that that's not the regent. It's the same person who also disguised as the informant and as Bill, the Damatsti cluster, a shapeshifter, and one of the Sarkas kings at the royal court. They have been working together with Manfred all the time and provided very useful information. You can't be angry at smart villains, can you? Seeing how much of an impact the bombardment has on the people of the city, Horn gets an idea similar to Armia. She collects her men and also plans to retake the walls. As I said, a Konosuba reference. Siege and her crew stay back to cover the Wagwan people who stayed back. Because as they soon would find out, the Sarkas had sent somebody underground to attack them, the Sanguinarch himself. Many Wagwan soldiers throw themselves at him, trying to buy the others time, but their sacrifices are completely in vain. He literally turns them into clumps of blood with his finger. They can't do anything but just run away as soon as possible. Horn's group makes it to the artillery control room on the walls. After defeating the Sarkas there, they learn that the only way to deactivate the artillery would be A. kill Manfred, or B. blow up the control room. For B, they both lack the firepower and they are unsure whether they actually want to destroy one of the cornerstones of Londinium's defense. Amiya's team also makes it up. They got to the walls with underground passages and then climbed the hundreds of meters with the help of zip lines. They immediately attack Manfred. It's a hard battle, but Armiya feels that Manfred is only stalling them, so that the artillery and the Sanguinarch have enough time to wipe out the Wagons underground. She wants to go all out on the Sarkas, but you hold her back, because there is no need for this. Horn, her group, and Misery arrive. Misery brings all of you to the control room, while Horn takes over the fight against Manfred. But she is not alone. Behind her, many men appear, the Victorian soldiers she herself rescued. They all engage Manfred, and although they suffer losses, Horn herself almost dies, they manage to buy Rhodes Island enough time to blow up the artillery control room. The detonation disables all the artillery and a part of the wall. Manfred orders a full retreat. The operation was a success. In the underground, things are not looking well though. The Sanguinarch is committing atrocity after atrocity on them. Siege manages to help everybody though. She finds a button which activates a secret escape route for the royal family of Victoria, which she remembers using over 2 decades ago. They start fleeing through it, but the Vampire King keeps pushing. Luckily for them, another elite operator besides Misery is present in Londinium. Logos appears and makes sure that Siege's team and the Wagons would have enough time to escape. Everybody meets up. Clovisia, Armiya, Siege, and all the men they lead. They board a train and get it moving, ready to enter central Londinium, where they want to meet up with the rest of the Wagons, including many noble supporters. The main action of the whole chapter is essentially over. There is just one more thing that happens. During the whole operation, Armiya on multiple occasions overheard people mentioning the King of the Sarkas being present in the city. People described seeing a Sarkas with Pharisas appearance, and as the train starts moving, I'm just gonna allow the game's wonderful art to speak for itself. She's here. How does this affect Armiya's legacy? Well, time to talk about that when Chapter 11 comes out. Now I know that this kinda contradicts the title and the purpose of this video, but I think you actually should go ahead and read Chapter 10. It's genuinely a fucking W chapter, very well written, and quite frankly, epic, for the lack of a better word. Sausage, Arknights, for being the most written gacha game in existence. Now, subscribe to my channel. Do you know who I read out at the end of my videos? Let me tell you. Thank you to my channel supporters, especially Ankoku, Ezreal, Carousel Afa, Chris, Daniel Henriquez, Darth L. Dosh, Demoboy125, Erwin Heckler, Gymshot First, Longo, Neo, Cubic, Salvessa, Written, and the Phoenix. Thanks a lot for your support, guys, and to you, thanks for watching, and I hope that I will see you next time. Cheers!